Two things. Nobody puts Baby in a corner, and Jennifer Grey ruined her career, ruined her face, took away everything.
When Dirty Dancing hit theaters in 1987, it wasn't just another romantic drama, it was a cultural phenomenon. Audiences were captivated by the electrifying chemistry between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze, and the film's legacy has endured for decades. But behind the iconic lifts, sultry dance scenes, and unforgettable soundtrack, there was a deeper story playing out, one that few knew at the time. Jennifer Grey, the breakout star who played Baby, was carrying a hidden truth during filming. It was something she didn't speak about publicly, something that added tension behind the scenes and made the film's success even more remarkable. For years, fans speculated about what really went on between the two leads. The energy on screen felt too real to be just acting, yet stories began to emerge hinting that things off-camera were far from smooth. There were whispers of clashing personalities, emotional struggles, and untold pressure bubbling beneath the surface. And through it all, Jennifer Grey was holding something back, something personal, something that may have changed the dynamic between her and Patrick Swayze forever. What was she hiding, and why did she keep it buried during the most high-profile project of her career? The truth, as it turns out, is more layered than anyone expected. Jennifer Grey quietly redefined her career and stayed relevant without Hollywood's spotlight. Her story in Hollywood is one of persistence, transformation, and a quiet strength that has allowed her to maintain a lasting career, even in an industry known for its fickle nature. Born on March 26, 1960, in New York City, she came from a family steeped in entertainment. Her father, Joel Grey, was a renowned actor and Academy Award winner, most famously known for his role in Cabaret. Her mother, Jo Wilder, was a former actress and singer. With this kind of artistic pedigree, it was perhaps inevitable that Jennifer would find her way to the stage and screen, but her journey was anything but conventional or easy. After studying at the Dalton School in Manhattan, she trained in acting at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater, laying a strong foundation for her craft. In the early 1980s, she began to land small roles, slowly working her way up in the competitive world of film. Her early work in commercials helped her gain on-set experience, but it was her breakout role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off in 1986 that truly caught the attention of audiences and critics alike. As Jeannie Bueller, the sarcastic and overlooked sister of the charming Ferris, Jennifer brought a comedic sharpness and relatable frustration to the screen that made her stand out. However, it was in 1987 that her career took a massive leap with Dirty Dancing, a film that would cement her place in cinematic history. In Dirty Dancing, Jennifer portrayed Frances, Baby Houseman, a character that would come to symbolize youthful courage, personal growth, and the tension between innocence and experience. What made her performance so compelling wasn't just her ability to dance or her chemistry with co-star Patrick Swayze, but the authenticity she brought to Baby's emotional journey. The character's transformation from a naive, idealistic teenager to a confident young woman willing to challenge authority mirrored Jennifer's own evolution as an actress. The film resonated across generations, becoming a cultural touchstone. Jennifer's portrayal was vulnerable yet determined, and she embodied the idea that finding one's voice could be both messy and empowering. The film's success was meteoric, and Jennifer Grey quickly became a household name. Yet even at the height of her fame, she remained somewhat of a reluctant star, preferring to focus on the work itself rather than the Hollywood limelight. Her performances were always marked by nuance and a sense of grounded reality, traits that allowed her to stay connected to audiences beyond just her most famous roles. Following Dirty Dancing, Jennifer's career took a quieter path. While she continued to act in films and on television, none of her subsequent roles reached the same iconic status as Baby Houseman. Yet she remained a consistent presence in the industry, working on projects that allowed her to explore different aspects of her craft. She appeared in films such as Bloodhounds of Broadway, Wind, and various television roles throughout the 1990s and 2000s. During this period, Jennifer also did voice work and took on smaller parts that reflected her adaptability and range. Though the intense spotlight of superstardom had faded, her love for acting remained clear. She brought depth to every role, never relying solely on fame, but instead on her ability to bring truth and empathy to the screen. In interviews, Jennifer often spoke of how her goals had shifted. It was never just about being famous. It was about doing meaningful work, building a life, and navigating an industry that can be both rewarding and unforgiving. How Jennifer Grey faced Hollywood's beauty standards, trauma, and typecasting is a compelling chapter of her life. While she's known and admired for her iconic performance as Baby in Dirty Dancing, her journey also includes a number of challenges and controversies that have sparked both public and media attention over the years. One of the most widely discussed, and at times misunderstood, chapters of her career centers around her decision to undergo rhinoplasty in the early 1990s, a procedure that ultimately changed the trajectory of her public persona in a way no one, including Grey herself, could have predicted. At a time when cosmetic procedures were becoming more common in the entertainment industry, her choice to alter her appearance was met with intense scrutiny. What made it especially controversial was not simply the surgery itself, but the profound impact it had on how she was perceived by both casting directors and fans. In later interviews, Jennifer Grey openly admitted that the nose job made her unrecognizable to even her closest friends. It created a paradox in her career. While she still possessed the same talent, grace, and work ethic, she found herself struggling to secure roles. In the wake of the drastic change to her appearance, in her own words, Jennifer Grey famously remarked that she went into the operating room as a celebrity, and came out anonymous. The decision, which she's never shied away from discussing, became a cautionary tale about the pressures placed on women in Hollywood to conform to beauty standards and how quickly identity and recognition can be tied to physical features. Another deeply personal and painful event that altered Jennifer Grey's life occurred just before Dirty Dancing's release in 1987. She was involved in a tragic car accident while vacationing in Ireland with then-boyfriend Matthew Broderick, who had also starred in Ferris Bueller's Day Off with her. The accident, which resulted in the death of 2 people in the other car, left Grey physically uninjured but emotionally shattered. In public interviews, she has described experiencing intense survivor's guilt, especially given that the film that would define her career was released shortly after the tragedy. While Broderick faced legal consequences for reckless driving, Grey's emotional toll was often overlooked in the media coverage. She later admitted that the trauma and grief lingered long after the headlines faded, and that it complicated her ability to fully embrace the success of Dirty Dancing. The juxtaposition of personal tragedy and professional triumph left a lasting mark on her psyche and contributed to a period of retreat from the spotlight. She has spoken about how she felt like she didn't have permission to celebrate the film's success when others had lost their lives, which added a complicated emotional layer to what could have been the most celebratory moment of her career. In addition to physical and emotional hurdles, Jennifer Grey also faced an evolving industry that often sidelined women once they aged beyond certain roles or altered their appearance. Despite the film industry's insistence on reinvention, there remains a paradoxical pressure to retain one's youthful image, especially for actresses. This was something Grey experienced firsthand. While many had hoped she would go on to become a major leading lady, the types of roles available to her began to shrink after the early 1990s. Part of this was due to her changed appearance, but part of it also reflected a broader industry issue, one in which nuanced roles for women were scarce, particularly for those who no longer fit the narrow mold of Hollywood's preferred aesthetics. In this context, Grey's career arc reflected a much larger conversation about ageism, appearance-based discrimination, and the double standards that continue to affect women in entertainment. Her experience, while deeply personal, became emblematic of systemic patterns that impacted countless other actresses navigating the same terrain. One of the quieter but equally impactful struggles Grey faced involved chronic physical pain. After the car accident in 1987, she suffered from lingering injuries that were not fully addressed for years. It wasn't until she participated in Dancing with the Stars in 2010 that she underwent a thorough medical evaluation and learned the full extent of her injuries, including damage to her spine and a compression on her neck that could have led to paralysis if left untreated. The revelation led to corrective surgery and a newfound appreciation for her health. Competing on the show was not just a professional comeback, but also a personal victory, as it required immense physical endurance and mental fortitude. While viewers saw the glamour and skill on the dance floor, few realized the magnitude of what she was overcoming behind the scenes. Gray's win on the show was more than symbolic. It was a deeply personal triumph over pain, loss, and the physical limitations that had quietly plagued her for decades. Jennifer Grey has also confronted the challenge of being typecast or reduced to a single iconic role. While Dirty Dancing brought her global fame, it also boxed her into a narrow set of expectations. Producers and audiences often couldn't see past her performance as Baby, and as a result, she found it difficult to land roles that allowed her to explore other facets of her acting range. This is a phenomenon that many actors experience, becoming so closely identified with one character that it limits future opportunities. For Grey, the situation was compounded by her physical transformation and the shifting priorities of Hollywood, making her battle for relevance even more uphill. Nonetheless, she approached this phase of her career with resilience, turning to independent projects, voice work, and stage performances where she could take creative risks without being confined by outdated expectations. Patrick Swayze's journey, from ballet bars to box office gold, mirrored Jennifer Grey's in many ways. As Grey's rise to fame reached a defining moment with Dirty Dancing, it became impossible to speak of that milestone without recognizing the equally magnetic presence of her co-star, Patrick Swayze. A commanding figure with both physical strength and emotional sensitivity, Swayze was more than just a leading man. He was a multidimensional artist whose contributions to film, dance, and television left a mark far deeper than box office receipts. Born in Houston, Texas, in 1952, Swayze grew up in a household that lived and breathed creativity. His mother, Patsy Swayze, was a revered choreographer and dance teacher, and it was under her guidance that he learned early on how to merge athletic precision with artistic grace. He studied ballet seriously, even attending prestigious institutions such as the Harkness and Joffrey Ballet Schools in New York City, developing a discipline that would serve him throughout his career. But Swayze wasn't just a dancer. He was a high school football player, a martial artist, and someone who could easily bridge the worlds of action, romance, and introspection. His breakout role in The Outsiders, 1983, introduced him to audiences as a brooding older brother figure, but it was Dirty Dancing in 1987 that skyrocketed him into international stardom. In the role of Johnny Castle, Swayze delivered a performance that was physical, passionate, and profoundly heartfelt. His on-screen chemistry with Jennifer Grey was palpable, drawing millions into the story of a working-class dance instructor and an upper-class girl defying the odds together. The film's low-budget beginnings didn't hint at the cultural phenomenon it would become, and Swayze's performance, along with his now iconic dance moves and original song She's Like the Wind, cemented his place as an artist with a rare duality, tough and tender. Following Dirty Dancing, Swayze proved he was no one-hit wonder. He tackled a variety of genres, from The Thrilling Roadhouse, 1989, where he played the philosophical bouncer Dalton, to The Supernatural Romance Ghost, 1990, opposite Demi Moore. Ghost was another cultural moment, a film that captured audiences worldwide and reinforced his ability to play emotionally rich roles without sacrificing strength or stoicism. The famous pottery scene set to Unchained Melody remains one of cinema's most romantic images, and Swayze's portrayal of a man who continues to love and protect beyond death touched millions. Yet Swayze's range didn't stop at romance or action. In Point Break, 1991, he redefined the action anti-hero as Bodhi, a surfing adrenaline junkie thief who was as philosophical as he was dangerous. He brought a zen-like depth to the character, turning what could have been a two-dimensional villain into a strangely likable icon. The film also highlighted his real-life athleticism and fearlessness. He performed many of his own stunts, including skydiving. Around the same time, he also starred in City of Joy, 1992, which took him to India for a dramatic role as a disillusioned American surgeon searching for meaning. The choice showed his commitment to exploring human complexity, even if it meant stepping out of the commercial spotlight. Childhood trauma, career pressure, and the battles he faced off-screen, Patrick Swayze, the beloved actor known for his unforgettable roles in Dirty Dancing, Ghost, and Point Break, was admired by millions for his charm, talent, and resilience. But behind the on-screen grace and Hollywood glamour lay a more complicated reality, one marked by inner struggles, family pain, career hurdles, and personal demons. While his image was carefully maintained in public, his life was filled with moments of turmoil that added layers of complexity to his otherwise charismatic persona. These challenges shaped not only the man he became but also how he navigated fame, love, and legacy. One of the most deeply rooted issues in Swayze's life began in his early childhood and centered around his relationship with his mother, Patsy Swayze. Patsy, a respected choreographer and dance instructor, was instrumental in nurturing Patrick's love for the performing arts. However, her stern discipline came with a darker side. Patrick's widow, Lisa Niemi, later revealed that Patsy was physically abusive during his childhood. The emotional toll of such treatment was profound. It wasn't until Patrick's father stepped in on his 18th birthday and confronted Patsy that the abuse reportedly stopped. The scars from this tumultuous upbringing remained with him throughout his life, influencing how he saw himself and how he dealt with the world. Swayze's struggle with identity and vulnerability may have been intensified by the tremendous expectations placed on him as both a performer and a public figure. While many admired him for his elegance in dance and masculine presence on screen, Swayze often wrestled with the perception of being typecast. His success in Dirty Dancing and Ghost cemented him as a heartthrob, but he was also a classically trained dancer and actor who longed for deeper roles and artistic recognition. The tension between public expectation and personal aspiration sometimes left him feeling trapped, as though the industry couldn't fully see or appreciate the range of his talent. As Swayze's fame grew, so too did the pressure to maintain the demanding physical and emotional standards of his career. He was known for pushing himself to the limit, often doing his own stunts, dancing through injuries, and giving his all in every performance. But that relentless drive came with a cost. During certain periods in his career, Patrick began turning to alcohol to cope with stress, grief, and disappointment. One significant turning point was when Lisa Niemi experienced a miscarriage. The emotional aftermath left Swayze devastated, and he found temporary solace in drinking. His substance use intensified during the filming of Fatherhood, and though he eventually entered rehab and found periods of sobriety, the journey was not without setbacks. Alcohol wasn't the only challenge affecting his professional life. As the 1990s progressed, Swayze's career began to lose momentum. The mid to late 90s saw him involved in several less successful film projects, and Hollywood's evolving standards made it harder for him to land roles that matched his earlier acclaim. There were whispers in the industry that his career was declining, not because of a lack of talent, but perhaps because of the personal challenges he faced behind the scenes. The pressure to live up to his earlier blockbuster successes may have taken a toll on his confidence and well-being. The complex relationship between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze. Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze's relationship, both on and off the screen, holds a unique place in Hollywood history. The two stars became icons when they starred together in the 1987 film Dirty Dancing, which became an instant classic and cemented their place in pop culture. Though their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, their relationship behind the scenes was much more complex and layered than what fans might have initially realized. Both Grey and Swayze brought their own distinct energy to their roles, with Grey portraying the shy, reserved Francis, baby, houseman, and Swayze embodying the rebellious dance instructor Johnny Castle. The film's success was not just a result of the choreography or the unforgettable music, but also because of the palpable connection between the two leads. However, off-screen, their relationship wasn't without its challenges. Reports from those who were involved in the making of Dirty Dancing revealed that Grey and Swayze had a rocky start when they first worked together. They were often at odds during the production, with Swayze known to be a tough and demanding presence on set. According to various interviews, Grey has admitted that Swayze wasn't particularly warm toward her initially, which made the already difficult and physically demanding shoot even more challenging for her. Despite the tension, The two actors eventually formed a professional and personal bond that lasted long after the movie wrapped. Gray has spoken openly about how Swayze's willed personality affected their dynamic. In her memoir, she recounts that Swayze was not someone to mince words, often challenging her in ways that pushed her to become a better performer. While this was frustrating at times, she later acknowledged that Swayze's relentless pursuit of perfectionism helped bring out the best in her. This level of intensity wasn't just for the benefit of the film, but also reflected Swayze's deep dedication to his craft. Gray often recalled how Swayze would push her to dig deeper into her performance, a demand that at times felt like a personal challenge. Swayze, on the other hand, had his own struggles, many of which were tied to his experiences in the entertainment industry. He was known for his dedication to his work but also for his strong opinions and often difficult nature when it came to collaborating. Despite their differences, Swayze and Gray managed to put aside any personal tensions for the sake of their roles, eventually forging a working relationship that was professional yet deeply personal. Their bond was one of mutual respect, even if it wasn't always the warm, carefree camaraderie that fans might expect from two people working so closely together. What makes their relationship even more fascinating is that it extended beyond Dirty Dancing. After the film's success, Swayze and Gray found themselves living with the pressures of fame. Dirty Dancing was not only a box office hit but also a cultural phenomenon, with the film's soundtrack and iconic dance moves making a lasting impact on fans. For both Gray and Swayze, the unexpected fame that came with the film was both a blessing and a curse. It altered their careers in profound ways and influenced how they would be perceived by the public in the years to come. Gray, for instance, found herself being typecast as the girl from Dirty Dancing, struggling to break free from the shadow of the film's success. Similarly, Swayze, although a seasoned actor, found that his fame from Dirty Dancing led to a different kind of public scrutiny. Behind the scenes of Dirty Dancing, while filming, Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze had a relationship that was anything but conventional. The two actors, who would later become cultural icons for their roles in the 1987 hit film, had a dynamic that was complicated, intense, and at times strained. Though their on-screen chemistry in the film is now legendary, it's important to note that their relationship during production wasn't as picture-perfect as one might think. Jennifer Grey, known for her portrayal of Francis, Baby Houseman, and Patrick Swayze, who played the rebellious dance instructor Johnny Castle, had a working relationship that evolved from early tension to mutual respect. However, there was a hidden layer to their connection that both actors kept largely private during filming. From the outset, it was clear that Grey and Swayze didn't immediately hit it off. Their personalities and approaches to their craft were different, which led to some clashes on set. In interviews and discussions after the film's release, Jennifer Grey opened up about how she felt pushed by Swayze's demanding nature. She recalled that he was a perfectionist, and while this was an admirable trait, it often caused tension. Swayze, known for his intense commitment to his craft, didn't hold back when it came to critiquing his co-stars, including Grey. The tension between them was palpable at the time, and it even led to some uncomfortable moments during the filming of their intense dance sequences. In one notable interview, Jennifer Grey revealed that Swayze was tough on her, often challenging her to push her boundaries. This created a high-pressure environment on set. Grey mentioned that there were times when Swayze's critique felt harsh, but over time, she began to understand that it came from a place of wanting the best performance from both of them. Despite their differences, there was an undeniable respect that grew between the two as they worked together. Swayze's toughness eventually became something that Grey appreciated, as it pushed her to improve and deliver a performance that would resonate with audiences for years to come. Yet beyond the tension and the pushing of limits, there was something deeper that both Grey and Swayze kept hidden. It's clear that while their relationship on set had its challenges, there was also a complex bond that developed between them. Jennifer Grey has said that Swayze was never overly sentimental or affectionate, but their bond was forged through the shared experience of creating something that became bigger than both of them. It was a bond that transcended the friction they had earlier in the filming process. In fact, both Grey and Swayze have mentioned that their relationship, though not always easy, was rooted in mutual respect. Their struggles to understand one another while trying to create something meaningful on screen is what ultimately shaped their relationship. Another element that adds complexity to their relationship during the filming of Dirty Dancing is how each of them was dealing with the pressures of becoming major stars. Neither Jennifer Grey nor Patrick Swayze anticipated the level of success Dirty Dancing would bring. The film quickly became a cultural phenomenon, with its soundtrack, iconic dance scenes, and unforgettable characters becoming timeless. Grey and Swayze found themselves thrust into the spotlight, and the intense attention from fans and the media further complicated their already challenging relationship. Both actors had to navigate the newfound fame while continuing to work in a highly demanding environment. What's particularly intriguing about their connection is the way in which they both kept their personal struggles private, even while working so closely together. Grey, for instance, struggled with being typecast after Dirty Dancing due to her iconic role as Baby. She has spoken in interviews about the pressure she felt to break free from that image and how it affected her career. Swayze, on the other hand, faced his own personal battles, including the intense scrutiny of his private life and the challenge of managing the fame that Dirty Dancing brought him. Despite their individual challenges, Grey and Swayze managed to find a way to work together professionally and respectfully. Interestingly, while Dirty Dancing catapulted both actors into the limelight, their personal lives remained separate from the public eye. Although Grey and Swayze had a complicated relationship on set, they did not publicly air their issues, which is notable considering the fame they were suddenly thrust into. Grey has spoken about how they kept their struggles hidden from the media, choosing instead to focus on their work. In fact, both actors were known to have a certain level of privacy when it came to their personal lives, even though they were constantly in the public eye. This sense of privacy and reserve became part of their image both during and after the film's release. The death of Patrick Swayze in 2009 from pancreatic cancer deeply affected Jennifer Grey, who had worked closely with him and shared an undeniable bond with him during their time together. In the years following his passing, Grey spoke candidly about her grief and the profound impact Swayze had on her both personally and professionally. She remembered him not just as a co-star but as a mentor who had taught her valuable lessons about resilience and the importance of staying true to oneself in the face of adversity. In interviews after Swayze's death, Grey reflected on the times they shared on and off the set of Dirty Dancing. She acknowledged the complexity of their relationship and how they had grown to understand each other over time. In many ways, Swayze had played an instrumental role in shaping her career, even if their relationship had not always been easy. The mutual respect they shared for each other's work remained strong despite any challenges they faced together. Jennifer Grey's memories of Swayze are filled with admiration for the man behind the tough exterior, and she continues to speak fondly of him in interviews and on social media.